So the Las Vegas Aces have lost basically their entire team. Almost their entire team is gone from last year. They've lost.
It appears that the Las Vegas Aces are facing an unprecedented crisis. Once known as one of the most dominant teams in the league, they now find themselves in a state of disarray, almost as if their entire roster has vanished overnight. Last season's super squad, led by marquee talents like MVP caliber Jackie Young and Chelsea Gray, has seen nearly everyone depart. Even the cornerstone A'ja Wilson seems to be struggling to keep the ship afloat. In contrast, while the Aces are crumbling, a new dynasty is quietly being forged elsewhere, as the Indiana Fever, led by the rising star Caitlin Clark, prepare to challenge the established order. Over the past season, the Aces were touted as the envy of the league, a team that had assembled an unbeatable combination of talent. But as the offseason progressed, a cascade of departures began to emerge. Key players who had once been the foundation of the championship-winning side have moved on, leaving behind a skeleton crew that now must face the reality of a rebuild.
Basically everyone. If we want to look at the Vegas Aces team from last year, who's still remaining? The MVP, Jackie Young, Chelsea Gray.
The situation has been likened to a ghost town. Reports suggest that if one were to issue a missing persons report for the former stars, it might come back with a long list of names. Jackie Young, Chelsea Gray, and others are either traded, signed elsewhere, or seemingly sidelined by the lack of a cohesive plan. It's a bitter pill for any fan to swallow. The Aces, who once embodied a near-mythical team spirit and competitive fire, now look as if they're stranded in the aftermath of a collapsing dream. When a franchise loses not only its depth but also its identity, the result is a season of uncertainty and upheaval. The once proud banner of the Las Vegas Aces is now hanging limply as the team struggles to figure out what comes next. Even the once indomitable A'ja Wilson finds herself fighting a losing battle, unable to rally her teammates into forming the same super team that was expected to dominate year after year. As the Aces falter, the Indiana Fever appear to be seizing the opportunity with both hands. This isn't just a tale of one team's decline. It's a classic narrative of one rising star eclipsing a fallen giant. The Fever have been methodical in their approach to building a roster that isn't simply a collection of flash-in-the-pan talents, but a cohesive, strategically assembled unit. At the forefront of this renaissance is Caitlin Clark, a player whose name has quickly become synonymous with both incredible talent and unyielding determination.
We have to get better. We have to really take a sharp look at ourselves, look ourselves in the mirror, see our shortcomings. And
Caitlin Clark isn't merely a rising star, she's a phenomenon. Her impact on the court is evident, both in the way she commands attention during games and in the seismic shift she's ignited in the broader league narrative. With the Fever actively stacking talent and creating an environment where every role is valued, they have the makings of a true dynasty. This is a stark contrast to the Aces, where the star power is fading, and the cracks in the roster are becoming more apparent with each passing day. A closer look at the roster changes reveals a trend that is as startling as it is telling. Sydney Coulson, once hailed as the locker room's heartbeat and the vivacious spirit that kept morale high, is now reportedly headed for a new chapter with the Indiana Fever. Known for her ability to infuse humor and energy into the team environment, Coulson's departure represents not just the loss of a player, but the loss of a cultural anchor. Her transition to Indiana isn't merely a trade or signing, it symbolizes a broader shift in the league's balance of power. Alongside Coulson, another significant loss comes in the form of Alysha Clark, a player who has worn the championship banner with pride. After contributing to the Aces' title run, Clark has decided to return to the Seattle Storm. Her decision, confirmed by reputable sources, underlines a larger sentiment. When players have choices, they often opt for an environment that promises stability, growth, and a chance to compete for more titles. Even Tiffany Hayes, a veteran who had been viewed as a steady presence, is not immune to the winds of change. There are strong indications that she too will be moving on. Rumors have her aligning with the Golden State Valkyries, a move that signals further disintegration of the once proud Aces roster.
And then, you got to make the moves necessary, whatever that means, to put the best product that we possibly can. It's not going to be the same group probably next year.
What emerges from this flurry of departures is not just a story of players leaving for better opportunities. It's a narrative about a team that has seemingly lost its way. When role players, those essential cogs who do the dirty work and maintain the team's structure, start packing their bags, the repercussions are far-reaching. It's not merely about a few missing names on a roster. It's about the very identity of a franchise crumbling before the eyes of its faithful supporters. There is a growing consensus among sports insiders and analysts that the departures are not simply coincidental. They represent a broader reckoning within the league, a realization that clinging to outdated models of team building is no longer viable. The message is clear. If you want to remain competitive in today's WNBA, you must be willing to evolve, to embrace new talent, and to create a culture that values every contribution, not just the flashy scoring or the highlight reel plays. For the Aces, the challenge now is not only to find replacements for the departed stars, but also to rebuild a culture that can withstand the pressures of professional sports. Management faces a daunting task, reconciling the legacy of a championship-winning team with the need to adapt to an ever-changing competitive landscape. The Aces' rebuild will require not just new signings, but a fundamental reassessment of strategy, leadership, and team dynamics. On one side, you have the Las Vegas Aces, a team that once symbolized dominance, now reduced to a shadow of its former self. On the other, the Indiana Fever stand as a testament to the idea that with the right vision and a willingness to change, even underdog teams can rise to prominence. The Fever's management appears to have taken a page from modern sports philosophy. Focus on long-term sustainability, nurture emerging talents, and create a supportive environment that transcends individual egos.
Somebody needs to check on anybody that's been a fan of the Las Vegas Aces, because they are going through.
The Indiana Fever's strategy is built around the concept of collective success. Every move, from roster enhancements to management decisions, is designed to build a team that can not only compete but also dominate. This philosophy is perhaps best embodied in the rise of Caitlin Clark, a player who, despite being relatively new to the league, has already become a catalyst for change. Her style of play, characterized by fearless aggression and a keen sense of timing, has earned her comparisons to some of the greatest stars of the game. Yet, more than just her physical abilities, it's her leadership on and off the court that has resonated with fans and teammates alike. It is a lesson in humility and progress. While the Aces cling to the relics of past glories, the Fever are laser-focused on forging a new legacy. Every trade, every signing, every roster move is part of a larger vision that is already beginning to pay off. In the grand scheme of things, the current season is less about the heartbreak of a fallen dynasty and more about the promise of a future defined by innovation, teamwork, and an unyielding drive to win. An important factor in this unfolding drama is the role of leadership both on the court and behind the scenes. For the Aces, the absence of a unifying force has left the team adrift. In many ways, a team's success hinges not just on the individual skills of its players, but on the collective vision that drives every decision. With key figures opting to leave, the leadership vacuum has become all too evident. This is especially problematic in a league where every game is a battle, and the margin for error is razor thin. A'ja Wilson, for instance, now finds herself under immense pressure. Once celebrated for her ability to shoulder the weight of expectations, she is now in the unenviable position of being the last remnant of a once formidable lineup. Critics argue that her leadership style, once a symbol of excellence, has become increasingly isolated and counterproductive.
First thing I see was someone sending me a notification tagging me in a post. And I saw the post and I was like, no way, this isn't true, no way.
In a scenario where collaboration and shared responsibility are paramount, Wilson's struggle to adapt has only accelerated the Aces' downward spiral. By contrast, the Indiana Fever are embracing a more collective model of leadership. With veteran presences like Sydney Coulson, who has now also chosen to align with the Fever, and emerging stars like Caitlin Clark, the team is built on the idea that success is a shared endeavor. Every player is empowered to contribute, and every voice is heard. This inclusive approach not only fosters camaraderie, but also creates a resilient foundation that can weather the inevitable challenges of a long season. It would be remiss not to acknowledge the broader economic and market forces that are influencing these shifts. In today's sports environment, players are not just athletes, they are brands.
And it was confirmed by ESPN, so I guess it's true. Guys, Sydney Coulson, the face of the WNBA, is taking her talents on over to the Indiana Fever.
Their decisions on where to play are increasingly guided by factors such as financial incentives, media exposure, and the overall vision of the organization. For many of the departed aces, the choice to leave was not simply a matter of personal preference, but a calculated decision aimed at maximizing career opportunities and financial rewards. Take Tiffany Hayes, for instance. Although not the most high-profile name on the roster, Hayes has been a reliable veteran whose departure is symptomatic of a larger trend.